Hi guys! Today we're making this egg tote bag. This bag has a soft oval egg shape with wide handles as a key detail. It's stylish yet casual, making it a great everyday bag with a unique touch. If you use striped fabric like I did, you'll get an even more charming and visually interesting result. For the main fabric, cut 8 pieces as shown in the video. For the lining, cut 4 pieces in total. You'll also need fusible fleece for this project. I recommend using fusible fleece about 3mm thick, but anything between 1 to 3 works fine. To make the interfacing pattern, use the main fabric pattern. You can trim off the seam allowance, or if you want to keep the original intact, fold the sewing lines backward like this and trace it onto the interfacing. For curved edges, make small snips right up to the sewing line. Then fold the edge back, keeping the curve smooth. Use the folded pattern to cut your fusible fleece. You should have a total of 8 pieces, matching your main fabric pieces. Place the fusible fleece on the wrong side of the main fabric with the glue facing down. Leave a 1 cm margin around the edges. Set your iron to medium-high heat, press down firmly for 15 to 20 seconds. And move across until everything is fused properly. Take your time with this step. If the interfacing isn't fully fused, it may peel off while sewing. Once done, your main fabric pieces should look like this. Now let's start sewing. Place the top middle panel on the bottom middle panel, right sides together. Align the top edges, pin or clip, and sew with a 1 cm seam allowance. Press the seam open with an iron. Next, attach the side panels to the middle panel. Align the edges, right sides together, then flip the fabric over. This is the important part. The side panel should be positioned 1 cm lower than the middle panel for proper alignment. Once all 4 handles are set up, sew with a 1 cm seam allowance. Bring the pieces to your ironing board and press the seam allowance inward towards the middle. Repeat for all 4 seams. Then top stitch 3mm from the seam to reinforce the bag and add detail. Now place the front and back main fabric panels together, right sides facing. Sew around the outer edge of the bag. Take the 2 pocket lining pieces, place them right sides together, and sew along 3 sides with a 1 cm seam allowance. Clip the corners without cutting through the stitches. Flip the pocket inside out and use a pointed tool to push out the corners neatly. Press the pocket flat. For the open edge, fold the seam allowance inward and press it with your iron. Then top stitch 3mm from the edge to close it. Now fold the back lining piece in half and mark the center at the top and bottom. Do the same for the pocket. Align the pocket with the center mark on the lining and top stitch along the 3 edges to attach it. Take the 2 lining pieces, place them right sides together, and sew around, leaving a 10 cm opening at the center bottom for turning the bag later. Turn the back lining inside out and press the seams flat. Fold the seam allowance inward at the opening and press it as well. Now insert the back lining into the main fabric bag, right sides together. Pin or clip along the inner edges, front and back. Sew around the top, leaving a 1 cm gap at the top of the handles on all 4 ends. To achieve a clean finish, snip the inner corners as close to the stitching line as possible without cutting through it. Also, make small snips along the curved edges. Turn the entire bag right side out through the opening in the lining. Press the edges neatly, making sure the lining doesn't show from the outside. You can slightly roll the main fabric inward while ironing to ensure a clean finish. Now close the opening at the bottom of the lining. Fold the seam allowance inward, pin it, and top stitch 3 mm from the edge. Now place the lining back inside the bag. Now let's connect the handles. Lay the handles flat with the lining side facing down. Take the main fabric handles and align them. First, pin the middle seam, then pin the sides. Since we left a 1 cm gap earlier, flip the lining out of the way while you're sewing. Sew the main fabric handles together. Now fold the seam allowance of the lining inward, press it, and pin the edges. Using a hand needle and a matching thread, close the lining with a ladder stitch. Start from the inside so the knot stays hidden. Pick up a small stitch on one side. Then insert the needle directly across and take another small stitch. Keep the stitches even and parallel. When you pull the thread, the seam will close invisibly. Tie a small knot on the end and hide it inside the fabric before cutting the thread. To refine the inner edges, pin them in place so the lining doesn't peek out. Then top stitch around the edges for a neat finish. Mark where the handles start at the middle seam. Since the lining of the handle is not fixed, we're going to sew along the middle seam to secure it. Open the seam wide and stitch exactly over the existing seam to make it invisible. Now fold the handle in half and mark 10 cm from the top center on both sides. Sew a 3 mm top stitch along the existing top stitch to secure it. Give the bag a final press for a clean, polished look. Feel free to add a closure of your choice. And that is it. Hope you enjoyed making this bag. If you share your work, tag Moon Archive on Instagram so I can see and feature it. Thanks for watching.